"The same way we handled the Zorathians," Jake said. "We show them that humans are not easy prey. We make them understand that attacking Earth is more trouble than it's worth." "And the friendly ones?" asked Dr. Lisa Grant. "We learn from them. Trade with them, and maybe make some allies," Jake said. "The galaxy is a big place. Humanity could use some friends out there." 6 months after the battle, Earth received its first non-hostile alien visitors. A small exploration ship from a species called the Velthari approached Earth's solar system and requested permission to enter. The Velthari were peaceful traders who had heard about humanity's victory over the Zorathians. Their captain, a being named Sith-Ara, was curious about the species that had defeated one of the galaxy's most powerful military forces. "We come seeking trade and knowledge," Sith-Ara told Admiral Hughes during their first meeting. "The Zorathians have told many species about your victory. Some are afraid of you now. Others like us are impressed." "What did the Zorathians tell them?" Hughes asked. "That humans are a species that fights with their minds as much as their weapons," Sith-Ara replied. "That you cannot be defeated by simply having better technology, and that you become more dangerous when cornered, not less dangerous." Hughes smiled. "That sounds about right." Over the following years, Earth became known throughout the galaxy as a world of survivors. Some species avoided human space, afraid of what they might encounter. Others sought out humanity as allies, knowing that humans would never abandon their friends in a fight. The Zorathian Empire kept their word and never attacked Earth again. But Admiral Kethvar did return, years later, as an ambassador seeking a peace treaty between his people and humanity. "We have learned much from our defeat," he told Jake Morrison during the treaty negotiations. "The Zorathian Empire was becoming weak because we had forgotten how to struggle. We had forgotten that easy victories do not make you strong. So what changed?" Jake asked. "We began training our people the human way," Kethvar said. "We taught them to adapt, to think creatively, to never give up even when facing impossible odds. It has made us better warriors and better people." Jake nodded. "Maybe we can learn from each other. Humans could use better technology, and it sounds like your people could use more of our creativity." The treaty was signed, and Earth gained its first major ally in the galaxy. But more importantly, humanity had established itself as a force to be respected among the stars. They had started as the weakest species in the galaxy, with primitive technology and simple weapons. But they had something that more advanced species had forgotten: the will to survive and the cleverness to find a way to win against any odds. And in a galaxy full of powerful empires and ancient civilizations, sometimes that was the most dangerous thing of all. The humans had laughed at Earth's weakness. Then they had watched humanity prove that sometimes the weakest can become the strongest, if they have the courage to never give up. The Zorathian fleet floated helplessly in space around Earth. Most of their ships were dark and quiet, with only emergency power keeping their crews alive. Admiral Kethvar stared out at the small blue planet that had somehow defeated his mighty armada. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the damaged Liberty, looking at the alien ships on his screen. His crew was exhausted, and his ship was barely holding together, but they had done the impossible. They had beaten an enemy that should have destroyed them easily. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from Earth," Amy Foster reported. "Admiral Hughes wants to speak with you." Admiral Carl Hughes appeared on the main screen. Behind him, Jake could see the war room filled with celebrating people. "Jake, congratulations. The whole world is watching. You've given humanity its greatest victory." "Thank you, sir," Jake said. But the battle isn't over yet. We still have 50 alien ships in our solar system, even if they can't fight right now. What do you recommend? Hughes asked. Jake looked at the alien fleet again. We let them go. They're beaten, and they know it. If we try to destroy them now, we'll just make enemies of their entire empire. Dr. Lisa Grant spoke up from her station. Jake's right. These aliens came here expecting an easy victory. Instead, they found out that humans are much more dangerous than they look. That message will be more valuable than destroying their ships. But not everyone agreed with that plan. On one of the captured Zorathian ships, Sergeant Bobby Martinez was arguing with his Marines about what to do next. We should take these ships apart and learn how they work, said Corporal Jenny Adams. Think of what we could do with their technology. No, Bobby said firmly. We beat them fair and square. Now we let them go home and tell everyone what happened here. That's how you earn respect in this galaxy. Meanwhile, Admiral Kethvar was dealing with his own problems. Several of his ship captains were demanding that he continue the fight even though their weapons weren't working. Admiral, we cannot let these primitives defeat the Zorathian Empire, said Captain Mordak of the battlecruiser Crushing Fist. Our honor demands that we fight to the death. Our honor? Kethvar asked. Look around you, Mordak. Half our fleet is disabled. The other half is running on emergency power. These primitives have made fools of us. Then we should destroy their world with our bare hands if necessary, Mordak insisted. Kethvar was quiet for a long moment. Then he activated his ship's communication system and spoke to his entire fleet. All ship captains, this is Admiral Kethvar. I am ordering a complete withdrawal from this system. We will return to Zorathian space immediately. Admiral, you cannot be serious, Mordak protested. I am completely serious, Kethvar replied. We came here to punish a weak species for defying us. Instead, we have discovered a species that is far from weak. They have taught us that advanced technology means nothing without the will to use it cleverly. On Earth, the celebration was just beginning. In cities all over the world, people were dancing in the streets. Humanity had faced its first test as a spacefaring species, and they had passed. But Jake Morrison wasn't celebrating yet. He opened a communication channel to the alien flagship. Admiral Kethvar, this is Captain Morrison. My government has authorized me to offer you safe passage out of our solar system. Your ships will not be harmed if you leave peacefully. Kethvar appeared on the screen. The alien leader looked tired and thoughtful. Captain Morrison, I accept your offer. But before we leave, I must ask you something. Why are you letting us go? You have defeated us completely. By the laws of war, you could destroy us or take us prisoner. Jake smiled. Admiral, humans have a saying, live and let live. Yeah, we don't want to rule over other species. We just want to be left alone to live our lives in peace. But what if we come back with a larger fleet? Kethvar asked. Then we'll beat that fleet too, Jake said simply. We're very good at surviving impossible odds. It's what we do. Kethvar was quiet for a moment. Captain, I believe you would try, but I hope it will not come to that. Perhaps the Zorathian Empire can learn to coexist with humanity. We'd like that, Jake said. Earth is always willing to talk instead of fight, if the other side is willing to listen. Over the next few hours, the Zorathian ships slowly came back to life as their crews worked to repair the damage from Lisa's computer virus. The alien fleet began to move away from Earth, heading back toward their own territory. But before they left, Admiral Kethvar sent one final message to Earth. People of Earth, he said, the Zorathian Empire has learned something important today. We have learned that strength comes not from having the best weapons, but from having the will to never surrender. You have shown us that a small force with great determination can defeat a large force that expects easy victory. He paused, looking directly into the camera. The Zorathian Empire will not threaten Earth again. But more than that, we will tell other species in the galaxy about what we have learned here. Some will listen to our warning. Others may decide to test you themselves. Let them come, Admiral Hughes said in response. Humanity will be ready. As the alien fleet disappeared into the distance, Earth began to change. The victory over the Zorathians had shown humanity that they could survive in a dangerous galaxy. But it had also shown them that the galaxy was full of other species, some friendly and some hostile. Within weeks, Earth's shipyards were working around the clock to build new vessels. These ships used lessons learned from the battle with the Zorathians. They were still built with human technology, but they were designed specifically to fight enemies with advanced weapons and shields. Dr. Lisa Grant was put in charge of a new research program to study alien technology and find ways to defeat it. We can't match their firepower, she told her team, but we can always find ways to confuse their computers and turn their own systems against them. Colonel Dan Murphy began training thousands of new Space Marines. His training program focused on the things that made humans unique: their adaptability, their refusal to give up, and their ability to think of solutions that no other species would consider. Captain Jake Morrison was promoted to Admiral and given command of Earth's first deep space fleet. His job was to explore the galaxy and make contact with other species. Hopefully peaceful contact this time. The Zorathians were just the beginning. He told his crew during their first mission briefing. There are thousands of other species out there. Some will be friendly, some will be hostile, and some will just be curious about us. How do we handle the hostile ones? Asked Commander Ryan Bell, who was now Jake's second-in-command. The remaining human ships charged toward the Zorathian flagship like arrows shot from a bow. Admiral Kethvar watched them approach and tried to understand what he was seeing. Every tactical computer on his ship said the human attack was impossible. The numbers were all wrong. "Admiral, they're not slowing down," his tactical officer reported. "They're going to ram us. All ships, concentrate fire on the human vessels," Kethvar ordered. But even as he said it, he felt something strange. For the first time in his long military career, he wasn't sure what would happen next. The Zorathian ships opened fire with everything they had. Energy beams lit up space like deadly lightning. The first human ship, a converted passenger liner called the New Hope, was hit directly and exploded into pieces. But the debris kept moving forward, and some of it struck the alien flagship's hull. Captain Jake Morrison felt the Liberty shake as alien weapons hit his ship. Lights went out all over the bridge, and he could smell smoke and burning metal. But Amy Foster kept the engines running, and they kept moving toward their target. "Jake, we've lost weapons and shields," Commander Ryan Bell reported. "Hull integrity is down to 30%. "We don't need weapons for this," Jake said. "All we need is momentum." But then something unexpected happened. Instead of crashing into the Zorathian flagship, Jake ordered the Liberty to pull up at the last second. The alien gunners, expecting a ramming attack, were caught off guard when the human ship suddenly changed direction. "Now, Lisa," Jake shouted. Dr. Lisa Grant activated a device her team had built during the month of preparation. It wasn't a weapon exactly. It was more like a computer virus designed to work on alien technology. The Liberty flew close to the Zorathian flagship and transmitted the virus directly into their systems. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the lights on the alien ship began to flicker. Their weapons stopped firing, Their shields started turning on and off randomly. "What have you done to my ship?" Admiral Kethvar demanded over the communication channel. "We gave your computer something to think about," Jake replied. "You see, your technology is very advanced, but it's also very complicated. And complicated things break easily when you know how to confuse them." The virus spread from the flagship to other Zorathian ships. It didn't destroy them, but it made them work badly. Weapons fired in the wrong directions. Shields protected empty space while leaving the ships vulnerable. Engines pushed ships toward their own allies. On Earth, General Patricia Lee was coordinating the planet's orbital defenses. Earth's weapons were simple compared to the alien technology, but Lisa's team had found a way to make them much more effective. Fire. "Pattern Delta 7, Patricia ordered. Hundreds of small missiles launched from Earth's orbital platforms. They weren't very powerful individually, but there were so many of them that the Zorathian ships couldn't stop them all, and each missile carried a small version of Lisa's computer virus. The aliens shot down most of the missiles, but dozens got through. Each one that hit a Zorathian ship spread more confusion through their systems. Soon, half the alien fleet was having trouble with basic operations. Admiral Kethvar realized that his advanced computers, which had always been an advantage, were now working against him. "Shut down all automated systems," he ordered. "Switch to manual control." But the Zorathian crews had relied on their computers for so long that many of them didn't remember how to operate their ships manually. They were like drivers who had always used GPS and suddenly had to navigate with just a paper map. Meanwhile, Sergeant Bobby Martinez and his Marines were causing even more problems inside the captured Zorathian ship. They had figured out how to use the alien weapons and were turning them against other ships in the fleet. "This is actually pretty easy once you get the hang of it," Corporal Jenny Adams said as she fired the alien ship's main gun at another Zorathian vessel. "Yeah, but look at this," said Private Tony Rivera. He was looking at the alien ship's operating manual, which was displayed on a screen. "They have rules for everything. Rules for when to attack, rules for how to retreat, rules for what you can and can't do in battle." Bobby laughed. "No wonder they're having trouble with us. We never read the rules." The captured alien ship, now under human control, was creating chaos in the Zorathian formation. The other alien ships couldn't tell if it was friend or enemy, especially with their computers malfunctioning. Some of them started shooting at it, which meant they were shooting at their own technology. Back on the Liberty, Jake Morrison was coordinating attacks on the confused alien fleet. But he knew the virus wouldn't work forever. Eventually, the Zorathians would find a way to fix their computers or switch to backup systems. "Amy, how are our engines?" he asked. "Still running, but barely," Amy Foster replied. "We can't take much more damage." "We don't need to last much longer," Jake said. "Ryan, target the alien flagship's reactor. If we can make it overload..." "It would take out several ships in the explosion," Ryan finished, "including us." "Maybe not," Lisa said from her station. "I've been studying their reactor design. If we hit it in just the right place, we might be able to cause a controlled overload. It would disable the ship without destroying it completely." "And if you're wrong?" Jake asked. "Then we all become very hot vapor," Lisa admitted. Jake looked. Around his bridge, his crew was tired, wounded, and scared, but they were still fighting. Amy had burns on her hands from fixing damaged controls. Ryan had a cut on his forehead from when a console exploded. Lisa's uniform was torn and dirty, but they were all still here, still working, still refusing to give up. "Do it," Jake decided. The Liberty, barely holding together, made one final approach to the Zorathian flagship. Admiral Kethvar, struggling with his malfunctioning systems, tried to bring his weapons to bear on the approaching human ship. "Sir, the humans are targeting our main reactor," his tactical officer reported. "Stop them," Kethvar ordered, but his weapons wouldn't respond properly, and his shields kept flickering on and off. The Liberty fired its last working missile directly into the alien flagship's reactor chamber. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the huge ship began to glow from the inside. "All ships, move away from the flagship," Kethvar ordered. "Reactor overload imminent." But the explosion, when it came, wasn't what anyone expected. Instead of a massive blast that destroyed everything nearby, the reactor released its energy in a controlled burst that disabled every Zorathian ship within 100 kilometers. Their weapons stopped working, their shields failed, and their engines shut down. The alien ships were still intact, but they were now floating helplessly in space. Jake looked at his tactical display and couldn't believe what he was seeing. "Lisa, did we just win?" "I think we did," Lisa said, sounding amazed. "The alien ships are all dead in space. They can't fight, they can't run, and they can't call for help." Admiral Kethvar sat in his darkened command center and tried to understand what had happened. His fleet, which should have easily conquered this primitive world, had been defeated by an enemy with inferior technology. But as he thought about it, he realized that the humans hadn't really used inferior technology. They had used their technology differently. Instead of trying to build better weapons, they had found ways to turn the Zorathians' own advanced systems against them. "Open a communication channel to the human captain," he ordered. Jake Morrison's face appeared on the screen. The human looked tired, but determined. "Admiral Kethvar," Jake said, "are you ready to discuss terms?" "What terms?" Kethvar asked. "You leave our solar system and never come back. In return, we'll let you repair your ships and go home." Kethvar was confused. "You're not going to destroy us? Take our ships? Make us prisoners?" "Why would we do that?" Jake asked. "We just want you to leave us alone." For the first time, Admiral Kethvar began to understand that humans were not just technologically different from other species. They were completely different in how they thought about war, victory, and enemies. Most species fought to conquer, or to completely destroy their enemies. But humans seemed to fight just to protect what was theirs. "We accept your terms," Kethvar said finally. "But I must ask, how did you defeat us? Your weapons, your ships, everything about your technology is inferior to ours." Jake smiled. "Admiral, you made the same mistake that a lot of Earth's predators made millions of years ago. You thought that being bigger and stronger was enough. But the most dangerous creatures on Earth were never the biggest ones. They were the smartest ones, the most adaptable ones, and the ones that never gave up." The communication ended, and Kethvar sat in silence for a long time. He had learned something important today, something that would change how the Zorathian Empire looked at the galaxy. Humans were not advanced, but they were dangerous, and sometimes dangerous was more important than advanced. The Zorathian punishment fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. 50 massive warships appeared in space like dark metal mountains. Each one was bigger than Earth's largest cities and covered with weapons that glowed with deadly energy. Fleet Admiral Kethvar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominant Will, and looked at the small blue planet in the distance. "So that is the world of the humans," he said to his officers. "It looks so peaceful. They will learn the price of defying the Zorathian Empire." "Admiral, "We're detecting human ships moving to intercept us," reported his tactical officer. 12 warships and approximately 30 smaller vessels. Kethvar laughed. 42 ships against 50, and their ships are so small, this will be over quickly. Open a communication channel to the human fleet. Captain Jake Morrison sat in the command chair of the USS Liberty, watching the alien fleet on his main screen. The Zorathian ships were so big they looked like small moons. His own fleet looked like toys in comparison. "Incoming transmission from the alien flagship," reported Amy Foster from the communications station. "Put it through," Jake said. "Admiral." Kethvar's face appeared on the screen, his 4 eyes glowing with amusement. "Human Captain, I offer you one final chance. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick. Continue this foolish resistance, and we will make your world burn for days." Jake stood up slowly. Behind him, he could feel his crew getting ready for battle. All around Earth, millions of people were watching this moment on their screens. "Admiral, Kethvar, this is Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earth Defense Fleet. We reject your demands. Earth will never surrender." "Then you will all die," the alien said, and the transmission ended. "All ships, battle stations," Jake ordered. "Remember the plan. We can't match their firepower, so we don't try to. We make them waste their energy, and then hit them where it hurts." The first shots came from the Zorathian fleet. Massive beams of pure energy reached across space and struck the human ships. The USS Courage, commanded by Captain Nick Watson, took a direct hit that should have destroyed it completely. But the Courage didn't explode. Its hull was torn open, and half its crew was killed instantly. But the ship kept fighting. Emergency lights came on, and the surviving crew kept working their weapons. "Impossible," whispered Kethvar's tactical officer. "That ship should be destroyed." "Their ships are built strangely," Kethvar said. "No matter. A few more shots will finish them." But Jake Morrison wasn't planning to fight the way the aliens expected. "All ships, execute Maneuver Alpha," he ordered. The human fleet scattered in every direction. Instead of staying together and trading shots with the much stronger alien ships, they spread out and started attacking from different angles. The Zorathian weapons were powerful, but they could only shoot in one direction at a time. Dr. Lisa Grant, now serving as the Liberty's science officer, called out targeting information. "Jake, their shield generators are located on the undersides of their hulls. If we can get below them—" "I see it," Jake said. "Ryan, take us underneath that big one. Amy, divert all power to engines." Commander Ryan Bell, the Liberty's tactical officer, smiled grimly. "Taking us in, Captain. This is going to be close." The Liberty dove toward one of the Zorathian dreadnoughts, flying so close to its hull that they could see individual weapon ports. The alien ship tried to turn its guns down to hit them, but it was too big and slow to keep up with the smaller human vessel. "Fire all weapons," Jake ordered. The Liberty's missiles and railguns hammered against the alien ship's unshielded bottom. The weapons weren't strong enough to punch through the alien hull, but they found something else. The shield generator. Lisa had identified. Sparks flew from the Zorathian ship as its shields flickered and died. For the first time in the battle, one of the alien vessels was vulnerable. "This is the Houston," came a voice over the radio. "We see that Big Guy's shields are down. We're going in." The USS Houston, badly damaged but still fighting, flew straight at the Zorathian dreadnought. Its captain, Commander Sarah White, had made a decision that would change the battle. "All crew to escape pods," Sarah ordered. "We're going to ram." "Captain, we can still fight," her tactical officer protested. Not well enough, Sarah said. This ship is dying anyway. Let's make it count for something. The Houston's crew evacuated in small escape pods, while Sarah stayed at the controls. She aimed her ship at the Zorathian vessel's main reactor, which Lisa's team had identified as a weak point. The collision was spectacular. The Houston struck the alien ship at full speed, and both vessels exploded in a ball of fire that lit up space like a small sun. When the explosion cleared, the Zorathian dreadnought was gone, and debris was floating everywhere. On the dominant will, Admiral Kethvar stared at his screens in shock. They destroyed one of our ships. How is that possible? Sir, they rammed us, his tactical officer said. The human captain deliberately crashed her ship into ours. That's insane, Kethvar said. No civilized species would throw away a ship and crew like that. Should we continue the attack, Admiral? Kethvar looked at the human fleet. Several of their ships were badly damaged, but they were still fighting. And they were fighting in ways that made no sense. They broke formation, attacked from impossible angles, and seemed to have no fear of death. Continue, he ordered. But be careful. These humans are not what we expected. The battle raged on. The human ships couldn't win in a straight fight, but they weren't fighting straight. They used the asteroid belt to hide in, ambushing alien ships and then running away. They targeted the Zorathian ships' sensors and communications, making it hard for the aliens to coordinate their attacks. Sergeant Bobby Martinez led his Space Marines in the war's first boarding action. His ship, the converted cargo vessel Defiant, had managed to latch onto a damaged Zorathian cruiser. Remember your training, Bobby told his Marines as they prepared to cut through the alien hull. They're bigger and stronger than us, but they've never fought anyone like us before. Corporal Jenny Adams checked her weapon. What if their technology is too advanced for us to understand? Then we'll break it, Bobby said simply. That's what humans do. If we can't build it or understand it, we break it. The Marines cut through the alien hull and poured into the Zorathian ship. The alien crew was waiting for them, armed with energy weapons and wearing advanced armor. The first few Marines were killed instantly, but the rest kept coming. They moved faster than the aliens expected, using their smaller size to get into places the big Zorathians couldn't follow. They threw grenades into air vents, cut power cables, and generally caused chaos throughout the alien ship. The Zorathian crew had never fought enemies who came aboard their ships before. Most civilized species attacked from a distance with their big guns. They didn't send soldiers to crawl around inside enemy ships like some kind of parasite. Within an hour, the Marines had captured the alien ship's bridge. The Zorathian captain looked at Bobby Martinez with something like respect. "Your species is savage," the alien said. "Yeah," Bobby agreed. "We get that a lot." Back on the Liberty, Jake Morrison was coordinating the battle while his ship shook under alien fire. They had lost 8 ships, but they had also destroyed or captured 6 Zorathian vessels. The odds were still terrible, but they were better than they had been an hour ago. "Captain," Lisa called out, "I'm reading massive power buildup on the alien flagship. They're charging some kind of super weapon." Jake looked at the main screen. The dominant will was glowing with energy, preparing to fire something that would probably destroy several human ships at once. "Amy, can we get close enough to ram?" Jake asked. "We're too far away, and they'd see us coming," Amy replied. Jake made a decision that felt both crazy and inevitable. "Then we don't ram. We do something else. Lisa, how long until that weapon fires?" 3 minutes, maybe 4. That's enough time. Jake opened a channel to all remaining human ships. All vessels, this is Captain Morrison. Form up on me. We're going straight at their flagship. Jake, that's suicide, Ryan said quietly. Maybe, Jake said. But if we don't stop that superweapon, a lot more people are going to die. And I'd rather die fighting than running away. The surviving human ships formed up behind the Liberty and charged straight at the Zorathian flagship. It looked impossible. A handful of tiny ships attacking the largest vessel in the alien fleet. But Admiral Kethvar, watching them come, felt something he had never felt before in battle. Uncertainty. These humans didn't fight like any enemy he had ever faced. They seemed to get more dangerous when they were losing, not less dangerous. Sir, should we fire the planet killer weapon? His tactical officer asked. Kethvar hesitated. The weapon would destroy the approaching human ships, but it would also prevent him from studying them further. And he was beginning to think that understanding these creatures was more important than simply killing them. "Hold fire," he ordered. "Let's see what they're really capable of." Admiral Carl Hughes sat at the big table in the war room, looking at the faces of world leaders on screens all around him. Everyone had the same worried expression. Captain Jake Morrison had just finished telling them about the Zorathian Empire and their demand for Earth's surrender. 30 days, said Defense Secretary Maria Santos, shaking her head. They give us 30 days to give up our entire world. What do we know about their technology? Asked the president of the European Union. Dr. Lisa Grant stood up with her report. Their ships are much more advanced than ours. They use energy weapons that could destroy whole cities. Their hulls are made of materials that seem almost impossible to damage. And they have shields that can stop our missiles and bullets. So, we can't fight them? Asked the Japanese Prime Minister. Not in the way they expect us to fight, Lisa said. But that might be our advantage. Everyone looked confused. Admiral Hughes leaned forward. What do you mean, Doctor? Lisa walked to the big screen and showed pictures of Earth. The Zorathians think we're weak because our technology is simple, but they don't understand what kind of world made us. Look at Earth. Earthquakes, hurricanes, volcanoes, ice ages, floods, droughts. Our planet has been trying to kill us for millions of years. She clicked to the next picture, showing early humans hunting. Other planets probably had easy lives. Plenty of food, good weather, no big predators. But Earth was different. Everything here wanted to eat us, crush us, freeze us, or burn us. So we had to become something different, too. Dr. Kevin Price, one of Lisa's team members, stood up. We've been studying the Zorathian ship data. Their weapons are powerful, but they're designed to fight enemies who think like them. Enemies who fight fair. Fair? Admiral Hughes asked. They expect enemies to line up their ships and have proper space battles, said Susan Clark, another scientist. They expect enemies to surrender when they're losing. They expect enemies to follow rules. Maria Santos started to smile. But humans don't always follow rules. Exactly, Lisa said. On Earth, the animals that survived were the ones that could adapt, that could think of new ways to stay alive when the old ways stopped working. That's what made us human. Meanwhile, at a military base in Colorado, Colonel Dan Murphy was training the first group of Space Marines. These soldiers would fight on alien ships if they got the chance. The training was hard and dangerous, but every volunteer knew what was at stake. Listen up, Murphy told his troops. These aliens think they know how to fight. They've probably been winning battles the same way for thousands of years. But they've never fought humans before. Sergeant Bobby Martinez raised his hand. Sir, what makes us different? Everything, Murphy said. They're bigger and stronger than us. Their weapons are better. Their armor is better. But we're faster. And we're meaner. And we don't give up even when we should. Corporal Jenny Adams looked worried. But sir, if their technology is so much better... Technology isn't everything, Murphy said. A knife can kill someone with a gun if you get close enough. A small group can beat a big army if they're smart enough. And humans have been doing impossible things since we first picked up rocks and decided to hunt animals 10 times our size. Back at the Space Research Center, Lisa's team was working day and night to understand Zorathian technology. They couldn't build weapons as good as the aliens had, but they were learning how those weapons worked. Look at this, Kevin said, pointing at data on his screen. Their energy weapons need time to charge between shots, and their shields use a lot of power. So if we could make them waste their power, Susan said, they'd be vulnerable. Lisa finished. We need to make lots of small attacks instead of a few big ones. Make them use up their energy on targets that don't matter. At the same time, engineers all over Earth were working on a secret project. They were taking civilian ships, cargo haulers, mining vessels, passenger liners, and turning them into weapons. Not good weapons, but weapons that could do one job very well. Amy Foster, now promoted to chief engineer, was in charge of converting the big mining ship Hercules. We're not trying to make this thing win a fight, she told her team. We're trying to make it do as much damage as possible when it dies. When it dies? Asked one of the younger engineers. These ships aren't meant to survive, Amy explained. They're meant to ram into enemy ships and explode. The pilots will have escape pods, but the ships themselves are basically flying bombs. The young engineer looked scared. Who's going to fly something like that? Volunteers, Amy said. We've got more volunteers than we have ships. While Earth prepared for war, the Zorathian Empire was also getting ready. But they weren't worried. Fleet Admiral Kethvar had seen the human ship. He knew how weak Earth's technology was. 50 ships should be enough, he told his officers. We'll destroy a few of their cities from orbit, and the rest will surrender quickly. What if they try to fight, Admiral? Asked one of his captains. Kethvar laughed. With what? Their primitive projectile weapons? Their slow ships made of simple metal? It will be over in minutes. The Zorathian punishment fleet was massive. Each ship was like a floating city, covered with weapons that could turn mountains into dust. The aliens had fought many wars and conquered many worlds. Earth would just be one more easy victory. But back on Earth, something was happening that the Zorathians didn't expect. Humans were not getting ready to surrender. They were getting ready to fight, even though they knew they would probably lose. Captain Jake Morrison was given command of Earth's defense fleet. It wasn't much, only 12 real warships and a bunch of converted civilian ships. The USS Liberty, his new flagship, was the biggest human warship ever built, but it was still tiny compared to a Zorathian dreadnought. Are we really going to do this? Ryan Bell asked him. Ryan was now his tactical officer on the Liberty. We don't have a choice, Jake said. Even if we wanted to surrender, do you think they'd really let us live in peace? They called us worthless. They want to use us as slaves, so we fight. And maybe we lose, but maybe we teach them that humans aren't as easy to kill as they think. All around Earth, similar conversations were happening. Pilots who knew they probably wouldn't survive were climbing into their ships anyway. Soldiers were loading weapons that might not even scratch alien armor. Scientists were working on plans that seemed impossible. But that was the thing about humans. They had always done impossible things. They had survived ice ages with nothing but fur and fire. They had crossed oceans in wooden boats. They had learned to fly, to travel to other worlds, to speak across the void of space. And now they were getting ready to fight an enemy that could destroy them with ease. But the Zorathians had made one big mistake. They thought that having better weapons meant they would win. They didn't understand that humans had been fighting against impossible odds since the day they first stood up and decided they weren't going to be prey anymore. The 30 days were almost up. Soon, the Zorathian fleet would arrive at Earth, expecting to find a world ready to surrender. Instead, they would find something they had never encountered before. A species that became more dangerous when cornered, not less dangerous. The aliens. We're about to learn what happened when you threatened the home of the most stubborn, adaptable, and ruthlessly clever species in the galaxy. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Determination and watched the stars through the main screen. His ship had been traveling for 3 months now, going deeper into space than any human had ever gone before. The crew of 200. People were excited about their mission. They were looking for new worlds and maybe even other forms of life. "Captain, we're getting something strange on our sensors," said Dr. Lisa Grant from her science station. She was the chief science officer and one of the smartest people Jake had ever met. Her fingers moved quickly over her control panel as she tried to make sense of what she was seeing. Jake walked over to her station. "What kind of strange?" "There are ships out there. Big ones. And they're not human." Lisa's voice was calm, but Jake could hear the excitement underneath. This was what they had hoped to find, but also what they had feared. Commander Ryan Bell, the tactical officer, looked up from his station. "Captain, I count at least 20 ships. They're much larger than ours, and they're moving toward us fast." Jake felt his heart start to beat faster. The Determination was built for exploration, not fighting. They had some basic weapons, but nothing that could handle a real battle. "Put it on the main screen," he ordered. The view changed, and everyone on the bridge went quiet. The alien ships were huge, at least 10 times bigger than the Determination. They were dark and covered with what looked like spikes. Strange lights moved along their hulls in patterns that hurt to look at. "They're trying to talk to us," said Lieutenant Amy Foster from the communications station. She was young but good at her job. "The signal is coming through on multiple frequencies." "Put it through," Jake said. He straightened his uniform and tried to look confident. This was the moment that would change everything for humanity. The main screen flickered, and suddenly they were looking at an alien face. The creature had gray skin, 4 eyes, and a mouth full of sharp teeth. When it spoke, its voice was deep and scary. "Primitive vessel, you will stop and prepare to be boarded. I am Fleet Admiral Kethvar of the Zorathian Empire. Your species is unknown to us, but your technology marks you as inferior." Jake stepped forward. "I am Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earth vessel Determination. We come in peace, seeking knowledge and friendship among the stars." The alien made a sound that might have been laughing. "Peace? Friendship? Your ship is made of simple metal. Your weapons are crude projectiles. Your engines barely function. You speak of friendship, but you have nothing to offer." Other alien faces appeared on smaller screens around the main one. They were all looking at the humans like they were insects. Jake could hear some of his crew members moving nervously behind him. "We may not have advanced technology," Jake said, "but we have other things to offer. Art, music, stories, different ways of thinking about problems. Worthless. Admiral Kethvar said. Your world will surrender to the Zorathian Empire. You will serve as workers in our mines and factories. This is the only value your species has. Dr. Grant stepped up beside Jake. We're explorers and scientists. We've traveled far from our home just to learn about the universe. Surely that shows we have potential? The aliens laughed louder this time. You took months to travel what our ships cross in days. Your science is like a child playing with rocks. Your people know nothing of real power, Commander Bell whispered. To Jake, Captain, their weapons are charging. I'm reading massive energy buildup on all their ships. Jake's mouth went dry. Admiral Kethvar, we don't want any trouble. If you'll just let us return to our home, we can discuss this with our leaders. Your leaders will have 30 of your days to surrender completely, the alien admiral said. If they refuse, we will destroy your entire world. Every human will die. This is not a negotiation. This is a warning. The screen went black. For a moment, nobody on the bridge moved or spoke. Then alarms started going off everywhere. They're firing, Ryan shouted. All hands, brace for impact. The determination shook as energy beams hit its hull. The lights flickered, and Jake heard the sound of metal being torn apart somewhere in the ship. Amy, get us out of here! Jake ordered. Maximum speed! I'm trying, Captain, but the engines are damaged. Amy's fingers flew over her controls. I need a few minutes to reroute power. Another blast hit them, and this time Jake was thrown to the floor. When he got up, he saw that Lisa was bleeding from a cut on her forehead, and Ryan's station was sparking. Got it, Amy yelled. Engines back online! The determination jumped forward, running away from the alien fleet as fast as it could go. The Zorathian ships followed for a while, firing more shots, but they seemed to be playing with the humans rather than trying to destroy them completely. They're letting us go, Ryan said, watching his damaged sensors. Why would they do that? Because they want us to deliver their message, Jake said grimly. They want Earth to know what's coming. For the next 3 weeks, the crew worked around the clock to repair their ship and gather information about what they had seen. Lisa and her science team studied every bit of data they had collected about the Zorathian ships and weapons. Their technology is far beyond ours, Lisa reported to Jake one day. Those energy weapons could destroy one of our cities with a single shot. Their ships seem to be made of materials we don't even understand. And their shields can stop anything we might throw at them. What about their numbers? Jake asked. From what we saw, that was probably just a small patrol group. A real Zorathian fleet would have hundreds or thousands of ships. Lisa looked tired and worried. Captain, I don't think Earth has any chance against them in a straight fight, Gay nodded slowly. He had been thinking the same thing, but hearing it from Lisa made it real. When they got home, he would have to tell Earth's leaders that humanity faced an enemy they couldn't possibly defeat. The trip back to Earth felt much longer than the trip out had been. Everyone on the ship knew that they were carrying the worst news in human history. When they finally saw Earth's sun on their screens, Jake felt both relief and dread. Soon, Admiral Carl Hughes and Defense Secretary Maria Santos would hear his report. Soon, the whole world would know that humanity's first contact with aliens had been a complete disaster. The Determination limped into Earth orbit, still showing damage from the Zorathian attack. As Jake prepared to go down to the surface and deliver his report, he wondered if he would ever see his home planet safe again. The aliens had given Earth 30 days to surrender. Jake knew that humanity would never give up without a fight, but he also knew that any fight would probably end. With Earth's destruction, The war for humanity's survival was about to begin.